Welcome, everyone. So excited to be here. It's Melanie Nelson, Director of Sales for TLS, and have some very special guests on the line with me. We're doing a very awesome Ask the Experts panel, and I couldn't be more excited about it. It's one of my favorite topics. And so without further ado, to make sure we have technology working for us, if somebody would just kind of chat in, make sure we're good to go, maybe say, hey, how's it going? Let us know where you're coming in from, that you can hear us, that you can see us, all that fun stuff. We got some chats coming in. Excellent. We got Arizona in the house. What do we got? We got Pennsylvania, we got Philly, we got Oregon, Florida, New York, Indiana, New Jersey, North Dakota, South Carolina. Oh my gosh, they're pouring in now so fast I can't even read them. Welcome everyone. I'm just thrilled you're here. So let me introduce our guests. One almost needs no introduction. She is the infamous, the one, the only Director of Nutrimetrics and Clinical Education, a graduate of National University of Natural Medicine. She's become well known in professional circles for her passionate lectures, and they are, and the advancement of professional education, both within and outside her field. She's been a licensed naturopathic physician for 20 years. She is an Educational Institute clinical director with our NEI Nutrimetrics, which is a sort of for continuing education. Our Director of Nutrimetrics and Clinical Education, as I mentioned, and Lifestyle Medicine Consulting since 2014. So welcome, Deedra Mason. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I love being on panels, and I love definitely sharing space with my very good friends. So thank you again for the invitation.
Yes, absolutely. And new to our corporate team here, so excited. I know you have probably seen her around. She's been featured since she came on board. She's a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, private practice for the last 17 years. She doesn't look old enough to do that. Guest speaker for her own radio show for a radio show for 12 years. And it's just a really popular radio show on health and wellness and you know, just helping people further that journey, which is incredible. She is a national supervising coordinator with our company and has become recently the TLS Director of Training. So welcome, Sosan Hua. Did I say that right?
You did it perfectly. Thank you for inviting me. What an honor to be sharing the panel with Dr. D, the one and only Dr. D.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. So let's get started. We have a few questions. So we want to get to it because we wanted to talk about longevity tonight, and that's a really nice word, but what does it mean? And what does it mean to you as a health professional? Why don't we start with Sosan?
Well, I think when you define longevity is living long life, but I really truly think longevity is more than living long life. Its quality matters and actually matters more. I think we all know that people are living longer, but they're not living better. And when we look at that, for me, longevity is a person not only live better in terms of how they eat, how they sleep, how they manage their stress, how they move without pain, and the most important thing is how they can live with very minimal chronic diseases, because as we know, as we age, we are always suffering from chronic diseases. And if you want to live with longevity, you want to minimize that chronic disease, so you maximize your lifestyle and that vitality. And that's what, to me, as a health professional, that's really what I preach, and that's what I work for, because I want to look, well, hopefully like this in 10 years.
Yeah, and help other people do the same, right?
Yes, help other people do the same. That's right.
Isn't that the truth?
Excellent. Right on, Dee. How about you?
Well, you know, I love that Sosan brought up the, this idea of quality of life, because you're absolutely correct. It's of critical importance that we pay attention to the whole picture, the holistic approach to well-being. So it's never going to be about that one thing that you do. It's going to be about the combination of effort, right? The sum is always greater than the whole, as they say. And so we want to definitely look at it from less of a mechanistic approach and more of a whole person approach. And I'm going to say that's really the difference between longevity medicine and kind of a conventional approach to medicine, is it's truly understanding, better mind, better spirituality, better body, better emotions. These are the types of things that are so important. But there's one thing that didn't get talked about, and I think it's important for us to bring up, because when we think about longevity, we understand, and the literature supports, that muscle mass is just as critically important as sleep. This is your savings account. Your muscles are that energy reserve for later decades of life. They are an energy reserve or a metabolic reserve for healthy hormones, right? So sufficient muscle mass is so important, but there's another player in longevity, and it's actually community. It's one of the reasons why I find myself, like Sosan, so interested in making sure that I get this message out to other people, because sleep is important, stress management is important, dietary intake is important, but there's two things that the literature continues to bear out, and it is that your lean muscle mass and your community, having social connections with people, they alone are not the thing that's going to lead to longevity. But what the studies show is that you can't reach longevity or health in later decades of life without them. And I think that's such a powerful place to be, to know that there's something that's within your control.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened to me at a very young age, was a little bit of a wake-up call in the sense of having two major losses in my life of two very important people too early, and seeing that prevention is in my hands, that I need to take control of what that part of my life is going to look like, and I need to take control of it right now, not in my 20s or 30s or 40s, but right now. And I was quite young when I had that awareness, because I lost two very important people to me young, and saw them suffer through diseases that, through lifestyle choices, and what we're talking about is a whole person approach, and all of the things that create wellness and longevity and vitality, those are choices we can make, and then can really become a matter of prevention. And so longevity to me means that I have, silver hair, I've got lots of wrinkles, I'm probably wearing a tacky outfit, and I am dancing, and I am hiking, and I am doing, something cool. And so, that is what longevity means to me. And I think that's, something that I think people maybe don't spend enough time thinking about. Not just like, what's my financial picture look like when I get older, but what do I look like? Moreover, how do I feel, and how good am I moving around, right? So I think longevity is the goal, versus maybe short term, got to lose a quick 10 pounds, or, all of the little things. Oh, if I just, whatever those quick fixes are. And I think we will just be happier, more fulfilled people, right? So if long-term and health and longevity is the priority, which it is for me, and I know it is for you too, ladies, and we're all talking about something we're all passionate about. So why TLS, which is short for Transitions Lifestyle System? Why TLS is the answer to longevity? Sosan?
Well, I think a lot of you probably heard my story. I never wanted to become a dietitian. I actually wanted to become an interior designer, but my grandmother actually died from diabetes complication. At that age, I kind of learned that conventional medicine didn't really help her. It was, I learned as a kid from my dad learning to tell me that never feed your grandmother rice because she has diabetes. And I grew up thinking that's kind of funny because we're Chinese. All Chinese people eat rice. So that means all Chinese people will have diabetes. So I see rice equal diabetes. Then I realized when my grandmother suffered so much in 5 years leading to her stroke, then finally she passed away, I realized it is not just about rice. It's more than that. And that's why I'm so passionate about, I guess, in terms of diabetes prevention, because I didn't want to see another family go through. So for me, low glycemic impact is everything. So when I saw the TLS, it was like exactly what I preached in my practice. And what I really love about TLS, it really covered that full spectrum. When I say full spectrum, it is the low glycemic impact eating. And it is not just about managing your weight, it's how you feel, because your blood sugar affects your inflammatory response, affects how you feel, your mood, your sleep, the way you manage stress, everything talk about food, right? Then we talk about body composition, right? Like Dee was talking about muscle, right? You know what? I used to just do the cardio. I'm the cardio girl. But ever since I started talking to Dee, I was like, I better start lifting some muscle. She lifts a lot of weight, and I'm not there. And that's what the TLS is about. It's a body composition. It's maintaining that lean muscle mass. In fact, gaining more lean mass. That's your saving account, right? Then we have what the supplementation. We know that we cannot expect a body to do well unless the body get nourished from adequate nutrition, but also balancing those hormones. That's where the supplementation comes in. And the last component is education. And I'm all about education. And I really truly believe that if you're consistent and you understand why you do what you do, you create those habits. And I think altogether it's what makes TLS so unique and so comprehensive, and it really addresses that. And I think in long term, it's not just reaching your goal, but really walking to the journey of longevity and vitality, basically.
Sure. You know, I want to piggyback on that, because, you know, when it comes to low glycemic impact eating, you know, that concept is making sure that the foods that you eat don't raise your blood sugars appreciably fast, and that you're able to keep your blood sugars in a healthy range where they can be an additional energy reserve for you, meaning that you have them on demand, but they're not necessarily going to be stored. Right? Because we also want to be very metabolically fit. What's that?
Store it as something else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, we want to be metabolically fit. And one of the reasons why I think TLS is such a powerful longevity tool is that it helps us be metabolically flexible. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We're metabolically flexible when our muscles can support rises and dips in blood sugar, and, you know, and can, you know, help be that barometer is not the right word, but can help keep them in those healthy ranges, is metabolically flexible enough to, you know, push and pull as it needs to. And this, from a longevity standpoint, is so important, because elevated sugars disrupt, I mean, it's disastrous to your metabolism. And it's not just about those extra inches or centimeters around the middle or the hips, or like you were talking about, Melanie, where you're like, if I could just, you know, it's, you know, I mean, how many fitness professionals have had someone walk in and say, you know, and someone says, what do you want to work on? And they say, oh, you know, I want my calves to be bigger, or I want the, you know, or I want my bat wings to go away. And it's just like, that's not how it works. And I guess that's one of the things I really appreciate about longevity and TLS together, is because when you can keep your blood sugars within healthy ranges, you're metabolically flexible. And that's better for sexual performance, because when your blood sugars are up, stress hormones are up, sleep hormones are down, and sex hormones are in the tank, right? So when we think about what aging means to us, that quality of life, it's exactly what you described. Being up on a mountain, doing what you want to do, and being physically fit enough, flexible enough to do that, where you don't need a doctor's note to go exercise. And so I really want to bring it back to that concept of, while we think about TLS's transitions lifestyle system, and many people look at it as a weight management system. And yeah, you're going to get there when it comes to shedding unwanted weight, but you're going to do it in a way that it's appropriate for your for longevity, so that you can be more metabolically flexible. And if I could give anyone an incentive here, it's the fact that when you're metabolically flexible, you are just that. You're able to kind of live your life in a way that there can be periods of time where you indulge without having your metabolism completely deranged all over again. You don't end up starting on your back foot metabolically when you pay attention to body composition and blood sugar health.
Absolutely. 40 years of research, aside from the 20 plus years of proven success we've had with TLS, prove that low glycemic impact eating is not only good for the waistline, but as both of you mentioned, it's good for hormones, it's good for energy and mood. I think it's good for, anytime your energy is more even, your mood is more balanced. I think your overall, as we talked about with longevity, this is about mental and emotional health as well. And I think that plays a part, when you're not doing those energy crashes throughout the day, and then you need that sugary snack or something from the vending machine, or the sneak through the drive through and get food like substance out of a bag, and then you're up and then you're down and you're up and you're down. And that to me, remembering what that feels like is a toll on the mental emotional as well. So, really 40 years of research prove that this is the healthiest way to eat. And I think it's for so many reasons, which why it plays into that longevity and vitality that we want to have lifelong. And I love how much you're talking about muscle, because, I am not one, ladies, I'm a little confessional here, to love to exercise. Like, I didn't grow up active. I wasn't exposed to activity. I wasn't put into sports. I was the pipsqueak in the class, so I never made sports, even when I did try out for them. And so, I wish that was different for me, and that I loved to exercise and work out. But I made myself because I knew that it had a lot to do with longevity and health. And so I know that if I can do it, and now I enjoy it, I still don't always feel like it. In most cases, I don't, but the discipline of engaging in that has paid off dividends that I wouldn't have counted, I never would have expected. And so, that's why TLS is so cool, because it's really comprehensive. We have our 4 pillars, as Sosan explained. So we do cover, really the gamut. Now, let's talk about the other side of the coin, because really there's a lot of guilt, or what I call fear of missing out, FOMO, right? A lot of FOMO associated with a healthy lifestyle, right? Like, oh, I could never live like you because I could never give up my fill in the blank, right? Or, just feeling like every time you cheat, it's like you're doing the confessional, and it's like, that doesn't feel fun or awesome. And in any lifestyle program, let alone TLS, you'll find people either cheating or hiding cheating, or just not even engaging, or throwing in the towel because they can't even sustain the idea that living a healthy lifestyle, because there's this idea of deprivation. So what are your thoughts on this phenomenon? Dr. D, let's start with you.
So, it's exactly what you're saying. There's a lot of shame or criticism in losing weight, never in the decision to do it, right? But in the steps that led up to it. People have a lot of concern about letting themselves get that bad, or the fact that they're going to purchase more clothes because of extra inches or centimeters around the middle. And so they're already thinking to themselves like, oh, they're beating themselves up. And it's a very difficult place to be. And that's one of the things that kind of harkens back to what I'd said earlier about there's 2 things that are critically important for longevity. And that is that muscle mass, but also community. And that's something that TLS offers, is a community. Where there's a lot of support through that community of people that have felt the same way that you have felt. And that makes it easy for me sometimes, Melanie, to address the fear of missing out, because I get to bring in that social connection that comes with it. I get to bring in the success of another person. You brought up something about the lifestyle, and I could never make that change. I don't want to give this thing up. You're right. people feel like there's an enormous upfront cost to getting started in weight loss. They're calculating all the things that they can't have, and they're not calculating the things that they're going to get. Just like what you had mentioned about exercise, the rewards have been innumerable. You didn't know that they were going to be there, right? But they're there. And so it's really nice with TLS when it comes to that fear of missing out, or, but I wanna, right? To be able to point to someone else and say, the capacity was with that success story that you're seeing right here. The capacity was within him. The capacity was within her to be able to do this. And while you don't feel like the capacity is within you right now, knowing that it is within a person's capacity means that it can also be within you. And that's the kind of thing that helps someone catch momentum. That's the kind of thing that helps someone feel a part of something. You know, the other thing I would say about that shame or that fear of missing out is that we need to be careful in weight loss, in making lifestyle changes. Maybe weight loss isn't the goal, but a lifestyle changes. We need to really practice celebrating the win. And what I mean by that is a lot of people will, they'll say, I wasn't going to drink alcohol. And then they do drink alcohol. And then they spend a good portion of the next morning very upset with themselves. An appreciable part of their day is spent beating themselves up again. And what they're not counting are the days that they didn't drink alcohol, or the days that they didn't cheat on a meal. I mean, let's think about it. How many meals do you eat in a week? Let's say you fall off the wagon on 2 of them. You nailed it on 27 of them. Right? So we really need to celebrate those types of wins. And that's ultimately how I address that fear of missing out, is that I've got this great community of people that have walked the walk before you. And this is something you can do. And I teach them to celebrate the win and not focus on the mistakes that they've made.
For sure. That's awesome. So Zan?
Well, Dr. Deedra said it all. Well, I just want to add a little bit more that unfortunately, social media has a way of really painting a very unrealistic pictures and setting very unrealistic expectation. And that's why a lot of people feel that a lot of shame and a lot of guilt when they are not doing it. And like Dr. D, a lot of people always think there's a lot of upfront costs, because when they think about healthy, it's boring. When they do exercise, a lot of work, but they never thought about the benefit from that. And I usually kind of go back when I work with my clients. I always say that let's kind of focus on the 3A, and I call it the awareness, then I call it acceptance, and I call it application. So awareness is obviously aware that there's an area that you need to improve, that you want to be improving, right? And you know, the word can't and want is a very, I can't do it versus I won't want to do it, really sends a very different mindset thing. And I think a lot of time when my clients say I can't do it, I said the truth is you don't want to do it. It's not because you cannot do it. Basically, there's obviously tons of tools out there. So when you have that awareness that you want to make a certain change, the second part is actually the hardest, is the acceptance, because many people that I know, many clients are in denial. I have clients who said, you know what, my blood sugar is a little bit high. And if they are high, I just have to take some medication and it'll be okay. That denial, thinking that medication fixed the problem, and they don't want to hear the truth is that lifestyle is a big part. Medication can support you for certain people, but lifestyle still play a big part. And that's why because you eat every day, you eat at least 3 meals a day. How could that not play a big part in your life? So when they gone to awareness and they accepted that, yes, lifestyle do play a part, then we talk about application. What can we do? And when you talk to a person, let's climb Mount Everest, that's very overwhelming. Like for me, that's overwhelming. But I often kind of use the analogy of habits, right? And how do we form habit? It's something that we do every day, whether we're thinking about it or not. And one of the things that I like to use with my clients is like brushing your teeth. I said, if you're busy, you brush your teeth very fast. But when you have time, you might take your time and really maybe floss and do a little bit more. But you would never leave your house without brushing your teeth. I said, why? He said, well, it's disgusting not brushing your teeth. I said, who said so? Unless the person standing beside you and smell your breath, no one said so, right? I said, because your parents are grounded that habit in you. It's like, you cannot imagine not brushing your teeth before you leave your house. What if we make healthy lifestyle like brushing your teeth? When you don't have time to exercise, do 5 minutes. When you don't have time to eat an apple, maybe eat something later. Like find these little small things and do it consistently that you almost feel weird not doing that thing. And before you know it, you start to leave those rewards. And when you feel so amazing, you can never imagine not brushing your teeth again. And that I find that really helped my clients to get over that and to really embrace that. And I think that's very important from a long-term perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody wants something, right? They want some improvement in some part of their health or wellness or waistline, and I love that, the acceptance of like, okay, I'm willing to do something about it, rather than it being a hope, wish, or a prayer. And then application. I mean, there's just nothing more powerful than our TLS program and we have multiple programs. So people can find one that fits their needs, so they can begin that journey. And so that's really, incredible because, it's kind of like, it's taking people through a process. In preparing for this, Zoom, I got thinking about, the things that we love that we don't, we feel like we don't want to give up, or, that kind of thing. And I got thinking, and I ended up writing a blog that's going to be coming out on the TLS website, on our blog, about, what does a treat or a cheat, every day or multiple times a day over time cost us? Because that's something to think about too, right? So if we're just shifting perspectives here, because one of the shift in perspectives you ladies were talking about is like, people see the cost of making a change in the sense of like, I'm missing out, or, social gatherings won't be the same. I'll be the pariah. I'll be the only one who's not eating the dessert or the alcohol or the, whatever the cost is in their mind. Now we're thinking more about like, well, what are the benefits that what are the dividends? What are the rewards of a healthy lifestyle? So that's a different perspective. Now, what if we, instead of going, well, I just have this moment of, whenever I eat, Ben and Jerry's cookie dough ice cream, let's just throw it out there. Or a really big platter of nachos. And so those would be my two treats or cheats, right? And so, yeah, there is that momentary thing of just like, oh my gosh, right? So good, right? The foodgasm. And so, but really, if we think about it, and I wrote a blog on, and I calculated how many pounds over time a daily treat or cheat would cost us. And so you guys need to be looking out for that blog, because it's quite eye-opening. And so it's just a perspective shift. Do I want that short-term pleasure, or do I want to be able to be dancing in my 70s, 80s, 90s. And so it's just something to think about. Again, perspective shifts. Here's the thing, you guys, right? I mean, everybody on the line knows there's very few people that are not going to ever indulge again. It's called like Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and weddings and birthdays. I mean, there's just times, right? There's these events in our lives. And so I want to talk about now, moving forward, is what's your recommendation for these types of events in our lives, these types of moments where we know we're going to indulge, and what can we do about it? Sosan, you want to start us off?
I am a very planner. I think it's a Virgo me. Virgo side me that I like to plan things ahead. And I always say that, every year we always have Chinese New Year. We always have New Year. We always have Christmas. We always have Thanksgiving. We always have birthdays. They never change. And guess what? The dates never change. It's always the same dates every year anyways. So I often say, planning ahead, right? I totally agree that I don't think there are many people. I do have some few clients who are 100% on par, but these are very few and far behind. Most of my clients do want to enjoy a little bit. And I usually say, let's plan ahead, right? This month, how many social activity are you going? And within those, which one you have control, which one you have no control. And the second thing is the one that you have no control. What are the choices? So let me give me my example. My birthday is coming up and my weakness is tiramisu. Everybody knows me. I love my tiramisu. I'm not Italian, but I love my tiramisu. So I plan ahead. Will I have my tiramisu? Oh yes, I will have my tiramisu. But I think I really like the way when Dr. D was talking about the metabolic flexibility when you do exercise, because that allow you those off days. When I say off day, don't consider it off day together, but maybe be an off meal or consider it. And usually it's dessert. Most people fall with the dessert or the bread. It's usually one or the other. So I often say, you know what, plan ahead, schedule it in so that you don't feel guilty because you have that plan for it. It's same as when you're on vacation, right? And when you have that metabolic flexibility, it's no different than the person who has extra income and they can splurge and buy this extremely expensive bags just because they want to, not because they need one, right? So this is the same thing. So when you plan ahead, you look at that bag, you can really enjoy it and not feel that, oh, that money could have spent somewhere else. This is something I deserve because I really want it. But don't buy that bag all the time because you go broke. And same as healthy eating, right? You need kind of plan. And for me, is core and trim tea is my best friend. I will plan ahead. I do up my trim tea one more. Although double the core doesn't really make a huge difference, but I make sure I take my core, right, 30 to 45 minutes before. And I probably do a little bit more walking at the end of it just to help me a little bit out. But again, the most important is not beat yourself, plan ahead, schedule it in, but don't overspend or else you go bankrupt.
That's so good. I agree.
It is a great analogy.
Yeah, great analogies. Go ahead, Dr. D.
Well, just, I mean, it's very like in kind, it's very similar. I mean, the planning's part of it. In fact, I think one of the number one ways that people see success is, you know, we often say with the company they keep, right? And Sosan also, you know, already mentioned the habits that people have and healthy habits and those sorts of things. And these are things we want to fall back on, but we also want to be on that side that you're talking about. We feel social, we feel that there's more that we can do. And what I find is that, you know, individuals that are, you know, needing tips because they're not metabolically flexible yet, is that, as Sosan said, listen, you're either an appetizer person or you're a dessert person, right? Because it's not the entree that gets you. Most entrees have protein and some vegetables in there, right? It's usually the appetizer or it's that dessert that gets you. And so first and foremost, identify which one of these people you are, right? It definitely can be the alcohol. So these are the types of things that get to people. So when it comes to the dessert, when it comes to appetizers, what you may want to think about doing is doing more of like, I have this incredible recipe that I found. I wanted to share this with all of the guests and bring the thing that you can eat, right? People love, again, we're going to fall back on this community and this, I want to share this like thing that I'm very passionate about. I'm not talking about your weight loss goals, right? You don't even have to bring that stuff up. I'm talking about this recipe that you found is absolutely delicious, right? And you want to share it with other people. You've now ensured that you've got something that you can eat when you go out and you're social. You've shared some new healthy tricks with people. I guarantee you someone's going to ask you for that recipe when you leave, and you didn't have to go into your social engagement and say, I'm dieting, I'm restricted, right? But instead you're instilling these better habits. You're staying compliant if you want to speak to it in those terms. And I find people are really successful when they share their successes this way. I think recipes are a great way to do it.
Absolutely. Dr. Nancy's pancakes, TLS pancakes are, you know.
Oh, great idea, right?
Oh my gosh, they're amazing, right? It's like a banana and 2 eggs. I put a little cinnamon, a little chia seeds, a little flax meal, put a little bit of organic peanut butter and put some fresh berries. And it's literally like I'm having that breakfast at, you know, like gourmet pancakes. Yeah. I also think of our shaking and baking document, which actually is being updated as we speak. So the new one will be coming out soon that will have more amazing, yummy things that feel like, look like, taste like, you know, using our TLS nutrition shakes, you know, like you said, it's just like amazing when people try things that are healthy and how incredibly yummy they are, that it makes it easy to stay on track and compliant. So that's
You know,
so
you had brought up that you like ice cream, or that would be one of your weaknesses there. I'm with you on that. You and I are sisters in that regard. And but I mean, I'm glad that you brought up the TLS shake, because I mean, I found a great treat in that, using the vanilla nutrition shake and using the complete greens powder. It gives it like a vanilla eat orange flavor. I'll put, you can use it with chocolate if you want to do that. But I find that really cold, the smoothness of the shake does amazing things to make me feel like I got a treat, like I had ice cream. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I've been really doing the smoothie bowls lately. That's been feeling like a real treat. I'm like, man, I'm cheating. It's been so good. And so there's so many ways that I think in TLS we teach people how to enjoy life, live a healthy lifestyle, enjoy food. I come to mind a person that I recently coached through the program, and her husband were so ridiculously committed that I barely had to do any coaching. They were so, and she was so worried about starting because she never, doesn't like veggies, didn't like fruit. Would eat a hot dog bun or a burger bun for a snack. I mean, we're talking like, like that's your snack, just the bun, right? Like just that, like ridiculously over processed hot dog bun. And in 30 short days, she's completely a different person. She's like, I love my veggies. I look forward to them. I can't wait to make my big salad for lunchtime. And, it's amazing how quickly things can change. And I think that's the other paradigm that people are not, and perspective they're not maybe aware of, that change doesn't have to take a long time. Now, some people, obviously, who have hormonal imbalances or metabolic imbalances, or people who have a lot of things going on, things are going to maybe take a little longer. And you just have to be patient and loving with yourself. But that change can happen in a fairly decent amount of time. And so it's really about committing to that. I really feel that that's the case. And with that said, I'm going to share my screen here because I've got some powerful pictures to show you of people who did just that in a very short period of time. Some success stories that we've had. And here's Scott. And this is, Scott has done now I've got a chance to speak to all of our winners from last year's Find Your Fit Challenge. And so that was such a blessing to be able to chat with these individuals. And so Scott had, he'd done a lot of yo-yoing, and I think there's a lot of people who can relate to that. And this was in a 12-week challenge, and this is a massive change, and so his big motivation was to be there, to be active and be really present as a father. And so that was his really big motivation. And so, I mean, this is life changing. This is changing the direction of, your older years here. And then we go somewhere younger here. Mr. Zach from Minnesota is actually a friend of mine who is just, thankfully I didn't have to pick the winners. We farmed that out to a whole other company, a bunch of people we didn't even know. But it was so neat to see somebody that I know well win in the challenge. And in 12 weeks, I mean, you look at Zach and you just go, whatever, like he's not even overweight. He just maybe he's got a little muffin top he feels like he has, like whatever, right? Nobody would, but Zach was a college athlete. He was a wrestler. He's used to being in prime condition. He's used to feeling like, ready to go at any given time. And here he has his new baby, and he becomes a dad, and George the Great arrives in his life, and he is like, oh my gosh, right now I got the dad bod, and I want to, and so he had motivation that also came from family, but he also knew what it felt to be truly vital and to the point of, collegiate athletic. And so the fact that he could get back there and he's just doing so well. So just a really incredible commitment and transformation there. And this one, you know, Joy had several chronic conditions for years and years, and that had actually taken her out of work completely. And after these 12 weeks, she said, I felt so good. I'm actually back at work. I'm actually working again. You know, 12 weeks, right? I know these are not, you know, results we can promise that are typical for, you know, individuals. It just, but these are real people who committed to their goal and a healthy lifestyle. And then there's Megan, who, you know, this is incredible young lady who, her and her fiance Justin were getting married. This challenge came at the perfect time. They did, you know, they were compliant, right? Like no cheating, right? And so look at this transformation, wedding ready. And what's really cool is her fiance did it with her at the time. Can you believe it? He lost 100 pounds. And changed his life. And so just a really incredible 12-week transformation here with TLS. And so like you said, Dee, is when you see somebody else succeed or make those choices and make that commitment, there's a part of you, at least there's a part of me that goes, I can do that too. You know, I can do it too. Right? Like, you know, and so I think that is just worth mentioning here. You know, just in regards to our success. So I'm gonna go stop share there. Here we go. So last question, let's end on this. I feel like we're kind of in this interesting time right now, and we've had this sort of extended indulgent period. Usually it's just the summer, right? You got your beers and your barbecues and your campfires and your s'mores and your, you know, you got all these indulgences in the summer. But we have had this sort of extended period. Lots of Netflix and indulge, lots of, you know, I even picked up some expensive tequila. So I think we're all a little out of habits. So I feel like here we're coming into this time where people are ready to get back to healthy habits, make a change. It's fall. In many states, kids are going back to school and people are getting into a routine. What do you suggest? Dee?
You know, I mean, you're right. It is a fork in the road, in particular when, you know, you've been on a prolonged vacation or things, or just, you know, life got in the way and that you weren't able to stick to your habits because you were doing a lot of bobbing and weaving. So, but you also brought up, you know, the idea of, you know, we've gotten out of habit. And so I just want to remind everybody that we're only as good as our systems, right? And this idea of weight loss, it's a fantastic goal. It's a really great goal. This longevity, it's a really great goal. But that's what it is. It's a goal. And if you've ever run a race, you know, or finished a race, even more important, if you've ever finished a race, you know what it took to get to that spot, right? It took training. It took day-to-day activity. It took one step in front of the other. And so, you know, what I want to ask people to do is that one thing to kind of set the stage for that habit to be repeated day after day, because that's ultimately what gets you to your goal. Melanie, I love what you said about how short a period of time you can see a change. You know, I see this a lot with fitness, and that's why, like, my answer to this question is, what's the one thing that you're going to do? Right? Do you need more mindfulness in your life? Well, 10 minutes making a smoothie, right? Doing something for yourself, that is no small thing. You had brought up how short a period of time it can take to like kind of get somewhere. Let's say you can't do a push-up. Do one, and tomorrow do two, and at 30 days, you can do 30 push-ups, right? Or I guarantee you can do 15, right? You can do more than you did the day before. And that's what I really want to encourage everybody. You celebrate the small wins, and that's what gets you to that finish line.
Absolutely. Awesome. Sosan?
Well, I totally agree. I always tell my clients, like, progress, not perfection, right? Just making progress is key. But I think we mentioned it for the whole conversation we have, is that a lot of time is people did not fail to plan. They simply plan to fail, but they simply fail to plan, right? So what we need to do is, I felt that I totally agree with the accountability and the community. People need that community. And sometime in the mind said, yeah, I'm ready to start. Like September is it, or January is it for some people, right? But that it sometimes need that little push to get there. And this is why I'm so excited that we're actually kicking and actually do the Fit for Fall, the 6-week program, exactly to help you really kickstart, because within the Fit for Fall campaign and accountability group, it literally gives you the community that you need, because you know we're all in it together on the same journey. And you get the accountability because everyone's watching you at the same time. And you need that account just to kickstart that habits again, because you kind of forgot that habit, right? So we celebrate the small win, and that's where you get to celebrate it, because people will say, wow, you did a great job today, right? And I think for those people who say, you know what, I want to do it, but I don't know how to start, then join us, right? Even bring a friend or two, bring your partner, and get on this together. Can you imagine like finishing 2020 and actually looking the best you ever done, because you make that one decision to join us? And I think that will be amazing. So I really think this is such a great way for people to kind of kickstart, reset in September by joining us for the Fit for Fall campaign that we're launching in 3 weeks.
Absolutely. And if you haven't, by any chance, if you are not an active member of our TLS community and you have not heard about Fit for Fall yet, don't worry. We haven't been spreading the news yet. It's just, maybe our little intimate community has heard of it. So you will learn about it, and you can get involved with us, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Creates that accountability, that community. We take the guesswork out. We're having a lot of experts participate so that you can ask questions, and there's such power in linking arms and doing something together as a group. And so we'll be going through the Jumpstart program, and then we're just adding an additional 2 weeks to make sure you stay on track and you transition into your next TLS lifestyle. So that is coming up. The official start date for Fit for Fall will be September 30th. So just make sure you get your Jumpstart kit before the 25th, and you'll be qualified to join us for Fit for Fall. And like I said, all the details will be coming out. Don't worry, you will see. So keep an eye out on the TLS blog. Keep an eye out on, if you're not a part of our coaches Facebook page, and our social media channels. Don't worry, the information's coming. So with that said, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Sosan, Dr. D, really appreciate your expertise, your thoughts, and just the collaboration of this panel. I hope that everyone got a lot out of it. I want to thank all the participants for being here and spending some time with us. Really appreciate it. We can't wait to see all of you at our MAIC 2020 coming up September 11th through the 13th. And our TLS breakout is Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So see you there. And right after us, guess what, is Nutrimetrics. So don't miss out on those two. It's going to be an amazing event. The more and more because all of us are on the inside. So we get little insights. And every time we get a little inside information, I just get more excited about how incredible the whole event is going to be in the whole weekend. So definitely see you there. Thanks again, everyone.